Dolphins fans, the NFL draft might be in the books, but we're still bringing you Dolphins coverage year-round here on Dolphins Today. So if you're all about the Fins, hit that subscribe button below. Dolphins fans, welcome in to Dolphins Today. I am Will Scott. Like I said, the NFL draft is in the books, but the Dolphins were making moves last night after the draft concluded, signing 19 undrafted free agents. They could add 2 more, but I expect them to maybe keep an open roster spot or 2 if they want to sign somebody that impresses at rookie minicamp. And then, of course, they've been linked to some free agents that are still out there and available. So the max number of guys they could sign is 21. They have already signed 19 as we're filming this Sunday afternoon. Let's take a look at every single undrafted free agent that the Dolphins have signed. The first one is going to be a familiar name for you Dolphins fans that are also fans of the Noles. James Blackman, the former Florida State quarterback. He spent 4 seasons at Florida State, started 2 seasons for the Noles, was there for 4 years, like I said, then spent 2 seasons at Arkansas State after transferring. So 6 collegiate seasons for James Blackman. Had 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions this past season at Arkansas State. Now he joins this Dolphins quarterback room that also has, obviously, Tua Tagovailoa, Mike White, and Skylar Thompson. So James Blackman might have a shot maybe to be the practice squad quarterback if he impresses throughout the offseason training program and in the preseason. Randy Charlton, the edge rusher from Mississippi State, started his career at UCF, then went to Mississippi State, 36 tackles, 4 sacks for the Bulldogs in 2022. There's something about the Dolphins signing Oregon safeties or drafting Oregon safeties. They drafted signed Verone McKinley after he was undrafted last year. And then, of course, the year before, they drafted Javon Holland. And both of those guys have been pretty good for the Fins. Now they bring in Bennett Williams, the Oregon safety, 5 interceptions the last 2 seasons. He's getting $25,000 guaranteed from the Dolphins, according to reports as a UDFA. And then Dawood Davis, the Western Kentucky wide receiver, 872 yards, 7 touchdowns this past year. He was actually Bennett Williams' teammate at Oregon, transferred from Oregon to Western Kentucky. Super fast, big downfield threat for the Hilltoppers this past season. Chris Brooks, really like this signing. The BYU running back was BYU's RB1 this past season. 817 yards, 6 touchdowns, 6.2 yards per carry. Transferred from Cal to BYU. He was a standout for the Cougars in 2022. Jarrett Horst, the offensive tackle from Michigan State. So after the Dolphins drafted Michigan offensive tackle Ryan Hayes last night, they add Jarrett Horst to that offensive line. Might have a shot to make this team when you consider the lack of offensive line depth that the Dolphins have. 19 career starts at left tackle for Horst, 8 career starts at right tackle. So he's really experienced, and this might be the most interesting note about Horst. He was the first overall pick in the USFL draft by the Michigan Panthers. So the Dolphins, who is pretty talented, the offensive tackle from Michigan State went undrafted in the NFL draft after being the top pick in the USFL draft. This is probably one of my favorite UDFA signs the Dolphins made. Aubrey Miller, the linebacker from Jackson State, was one of the best HBCU draft-eligible players this year. All-American at Jackson State in 2022. Started his career at Mizzou, then transferred, played for Deion Sanders for 3 years at Jackson State, was the heart and soul of that Jackson State defense. An NFL scout called him, quote, a ball of energy, has great reaction skills as a linebacker. I think Miller has a strong chance to make the 53-man roster for the Dolphins. And then Julian Hill, the tight end out of Campbell. Of course, the Dolphins drafted tight end Elijah Higgins yesterday. He was a wide receiver at Stanford. They're going to try to convert him to a tight end in the National Football League. Hill was a tight end at Campbell. First team all-conference in 2021 and 2022. 6'4", 250 pounds, effective as a blocker at Campbell as well. 659 yards, 5 touchdowns. For the Fighting Camels, that has to be the best mascot in all sports in 2022. Let me know, who has been your favorite UDFA signing for the Dolphins? Go down in the comments section and let me know. Still got time here to pick up your Dolphins draft hats. We saw 4 Dolphins draft picks put on this draft cap over the weekend, and now you can go get it. Chatsports.com/Dolphins draft. Go and pick it up. The link is in the comments and the description of today's video. Chatsports.com/Dolphins draft. I loved the draft hats this year. You saw Devon A-Chain put one on. That was hype. Chatsports.com/Dolphins draft. Go and pick up your Dolphins draft hats right now. Brandon Pilley is our next UDFA that we're going to talk about. He got $100,000 guaranteed from the Dolphins. As far as I know at the moment, that's the most guaranteed money that any Dolphins UDFA this year has received, and for good reason. He's a great player. 4 sacks in 40 career games at USC, 10 tackles for loss. He's got a really good shot to win the backup nose tackle job behind Raekwon Davis because John Jenkins left the Dolphins in free agency. Zeke Vandenberg, the linebacker from the Illinois State Redbirds, the MVC Defensive Player of the Year, Missouri Valley Conference Defensive Player of the Year this past year. 100 tackles, 14 sacks. He filled up the stats sheet. The stats very impressive when you're talking about Vandenberg. And then Garrett Nelson, the edge from Nebraska. Dolphins bring him in, as well as Ethan Bonner, the Stanford defensive back. I think the plan is to make him a safety for the Dolphins. He got $80,000 guaranteed. Correction, the Dolphins are signing him as a corner, but he can play safety too. 28 tackles, 5 passes defended last season for the Cardinal. Clap it up. Michael Turk is a Dolphin! If you were watching our Chat Sports live coverage yesterday during rounds 4 through 7, Michael Turk was the most popular player in the live chat because this guy is a YouTube sensation. He has over 232,000 YouTube subscribers. His nickname is Hang Time. That has to be the best nickname of all time. So he went to this camp a few months ago, and this is really impressive, I guess. I'm not really a punting expert, but get this. He hit a 5.68 hang time punt. That went 72 yards. That's like unheard of, apparently, if you are a punter. So his nickname is Hang Time for good reason. 3rd in FBS and punt average last season at the University of Oklahoma. And if you think that name sounds familiar, you'd be correct because he is the nephew of former Dolphins punter Matt Turk. So you do have a Dolphins connection with him. He's going to compete with Jake Bailey, who the Dolphins signed in free agency. And Bailey last season with the Patriots was last in yards per punt in the National Football League. I do believe that Michael Turk, again, the nephew of Dolphins legend Matt Turk, is going to beat out Jake Bailey for this job. So go down in the comments section and spam Turk. Turk, 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 Turk. Let's go. Spam Turk. We might have to get him on the show. He's a YouTube sensation, like I said. Nickname is Hang Time. I'm excited to watch him at camp for the Dolphins. And then Anthony Montalvo, the Dolphins keeping the UCF product in state, went to UCF, grew up in Tampa, 5 seasons at UCF, 17 career tackles, 2 sacks this past season for UCF. And then DJ Scaife staying in the 305, the guard from Miami. Could play guard or tackle. I think he's going to play guard in the NFL, starting right guard for the Canes in 2020 and 2021. Then the starting right tackle in 2022. So he is versatile, and I think he's got a good shot to get on the 53-man when you consider the Dolphins' lack of depth at offensive tackle and just on the offensive line in general. And then Alex Jensen, someone else that the Dolphins have added here on the offensive line. We knew they were going to be aggressive with their UDFAs, signing a lot of them, and they've signed several offensive linemen here. The starting left tackle the last 2 years at South Dakota. Some more Dolphins UDFAs to get to. Chris Coleman, the wide receiver from Cal Poly, 58 catches, 912 yards, 5 touchdowns for Cal Poly this past season. And then someone else from Miami that the Dolphins have brought in. Michael Agundi, the edge from the University of Miami. He transferred to the U from UCLA, 39 tackles, 4 sacks last season for the Canes. So they bring him in, as well as Scaife. So 2 Canes that the Dolphins have signed as UDFAs here. And then we just got a center. We just got a center. We just got a center. Wonder who it is. It's Alama Uluave. Thank you, Producer Coop. Alama Uluave. Guys, we work like 70 hours for the NFL draft. Anyway, I'm tired. The center from San Diego State got $65,000 guaranteed from the Dolphins' first-team All-Mountain West last season. Look, if the Dolphins signed a center, I'm happy. So there you go. Grade the Dolphins UDFA class type A, B, C, D, or F. I'm a big fan of some of these names. We're going to get you guys a video in the next week or two breaking down 5 UDFAs that could make this team. Last year, I correctly predicted that Kader Kohu was going to make this team as UDFA, and I also predicted that Tanner Connor was going to make this team as an undrafted free agent. Spoiler, I think that Michael Turk is going to make this team as an undrafted free agent, but stay tuned for that video in the next week or two.